Hi there. Today we're going to talk about the applied quality project. So let's go ahead and go to the shared screen. It's in Canvas. Um, the purpose of this project is to incorporate the A3 and the DMAIC methodology that we're using throughout this whole quarter into a deliverable that you can use as a portfolio piece. A little bit different this year. We used to focus really just on improvement projects. We talk to people who you know. We've done work for UGS. We've done some work for local companies. That's still an option. However, there's another option that I'm giving you guys, and we'll see a little bit about that. I think you guys will be excited about it. For those people who are in packaging and UX UI, you'll have a chance, and the graphic designers, you guys will have a chance to exercise your skills and creativity and such by using A3, the DMAIC methodology. So I think you guys will be excited about this. Let's just talk a little bit about it. So what is DMAIC and A3? Well, we have the define stage, and in define stage, we define the problem, we understand the current state, we visualize the ideal state. In the measure phase, we have the root cause analysis, finding out what's going on, what's causing the issue, or what is the opportunity. Analyze, solution hypothesis, and that's what, if we do this, we expect this. So it's simple using the scientific method. Improve, conducting experiments, evaluating results, implementing the best ideas. This is where after we've figured out what we're going to do, we do it, and then we analyze it, and we do things to improve or to create an opportunity. And then control is basically the finished part where you actually implement the changes. So that you actually release the app, or you release the poster, or the packaging, or the improvement project. What we're going to do is in the A3, you're going to choose one of the quality gurus in the PDF reader. And there's 4 PDF readers in Canvas, and you'll just take a look at them, pull them through, and you'll look at what the gurus have to say about managing for quality, and you'll pull the best snippet from them, what they actually said, and you'll put that into your presentation. One or more of the total quality tools, and those are all the tools that we're using into in the labs. One or more of the Lean Six Sigma tools, and these are all the little tools that we're doing for assignments and such that I throughout the book we'll talk about in course. And then 3 of the TPS and Lean Six Sigma improvement methods. And they're all here, and we'll kind of go over them a little bit later. But the deliverable for this piece is condensed, and this is what's going to be exciting for you guys. In lieu of a final, we'll have a presentation. So it'll be a video presentation that you guys are going to do, a 10 to 15 minute PowerPoint presentation that follows the A3 methodology, and you'll see what that is. 9 steps. So that's cool. And then after you do the presentation, you send me the PDF, and then that's it. That's it for the quarter. There's no final, which is good news, I think. And this is a group project, so you'll be working in groups of 4. Here is the projects that you'll select, and this is you're going to be working in a cross-disciplinary groups. So you might have DRT, you might have UX UI, you might have management, you might have packaging. So I want to, this is how you do it in the real world. You work with disparate groups. That's what I don't want to have just all packaging. You work on one. I don't want all UX UI working on another. So I will assign the groups after like the first couple of weeks of class as the enrollment gets figured out. So what you can do is you can either choose a branding project. That's it could be either a logo and a tagline. Could be a poster. Could be an actual logo, whole branding with graphic standards for a fictional or a real company, an event or a product or service. So this would be something that you guys could do for your church or your real company. Hey, I got a branding project I want to do. You'll be just using the methodology of A3 and DMAIC as the back side where we really don't see things in your portfolio as far as how you got there. And this is what's going to be kind of cool in this project is that you'll be able to show in your portfolio, hey, this is the methodology I got. I took a voice of the customer survey, figured out what's going on, what they wanted, discerned. This is how this is the methodology of brainstorming. Came up with a solution. We tested it, and then we came up with this brand. And I'll tell you what, I hired you guys in my place, and whenever I look for a graphic designer, when they show me a logo or they show me something on the portfolio, it's like, well, where did you place in that? What was your responsibility, and how did you come up with that? And they say, oh, I don't know. Well, then it's a marking that you guys haven't really thought it through. So this is a really good time for you to use the portfolio piece as to say, hey, this is an example of my critical thinking. And that's the purpose of this project. Design or hack, you guys call it hack, package solution for a particularly troublesome product. An example, hey man, how are we gonna get rid of all these plastic water bottles? How are we gonna get rid of the styrofoam? You know, what is a sustainable packaging solution? I know it's a lot to ask for in a quarter, but you know, this is where, you know, we're asking big things of you. So this is a good time for you to do this, is to come, you know, work with a team and come up with a solution. Engineer or design an app for you UX UI folks. It could be a fictional, it could be a real company or organization or product, anything you want. Conduct an improvement opportunity project for a real company or organization. And this is really the crux of what we normally do on an A3, is actually do an improvement project or an opportunity project. But so if you have a company, say you're working at a place and you know that there's areas of improvement, you know, that you can actually conduct an A3 on that. I'll show you an example. So we've got a plethora of examples as far as how that gets worked out. Don't have a lot of examples as far as how to design an app. So you guys will be kind of doing this on, give you the ground setting class in order to, you know, show what's the methodology on doing that, using the A3 to do that. So because it's so groundbreaking, I kind of give you a little bit of hints. So like if you're branding a company, an event, we actually use at Campus Graphics, because we're responsible for the branding of all of the campus. To say, like, if you look at Hancock's fall blitz, we call it, you know, it's got a kitten stuck in the bag saying, you know, squeezing some classes. That came from us. So that we brainstorm, we do affinity diagrams, we do Kaizen events, we do all these things. Everything that you see here, we do at my Campus Graphics, place where I manage, in order to come up and to mine that information. And it's based on analytics. It's based on the customer base we're trying to go for. So this is, I kind of give you some ideas as far as what we do. And so this is the phases that you're going to be covered. These are all the same for all the projects. However, the tools change a little bit. Some tools would be more applicable to projects, other projects, than to others. So you have now, you know, branding. We've got all of these. You don't have to use these. They're just suggestions. If you say, hey, Gordon, I want to use this instead, you know, if it makes more sense, that's great. You know, the hack product, a packaging solution. Again, some of the suggestions I gave you. Engineering and design app. You know, I'll be frank with you, I'm a printer, so you know, this app stuff we do work with it at Hancock. You know, as far as augmented reality and such, and it's exciting. I love working with the apps, and however, you know, I don't know a lot about how to manage them, and you know, what's the back end of it all. So you know, you probably have more information as far as like, hey, we can do wireframing in here. This is what we do this, do that. So you know, you would see the tools that we have available in this class, and then you can relay that to how to design an app. And then, you know, a classic, the improvement opportunity projects. And those are just on page 207, 210. That's what I know the most about. And so that I'll give you specifically what you would do in all of those phases. So there are 2 deliverables. You're going to give me a PDF of your presentation, and also you're going to do the in-class presentation on the night of the final. You're going to make sure you cover all 9 steps. Innovative projects, well, we really, awarded the most. I know it's only 50 points, but it's 10% of your grade. So, and I do grade these things relatively stiff. If I look at them, it's like, well, if this group just kind of like skated and they just went to the bare minimum, then you're probably looking at a 70%. So really, use this as your portfolio piece. And you also will be peer evaluating each other, so there'll be some accountability. You'll have a completed A3 with all the 9 steps, the effective brainstorming, root cause analysis, showing how you got to where your solutions were, or showing the methodology of your process. And it has to be proof. So say if you're like, hey, we designed this app, it goes after such and such, you got to tell us how you got there and prove it with actual voice of the customer data. So you're going to be doing surveys, you're going to be doing all sorts of things. This is why we launch it early in the quarter. You guys can keep going and working on it. Realistic process improvement recommendations supported by real data, use of appropriate total quality tools. This is where we've got to be really intentional as far as what we're using, making sure that they're correct. Logic of processes and conclusions, demonstrate understanding and implementation of all the tools and methodology. Effectiveness and use of visual aids. You guys are graphic majors, so expect these presentations to be really graphically stimulating with videos and interactivity and all that sort of thing. And then dynamic methods, and then that's dynamic presentation methods goes along with the graphics. The VOC centric, this really has to be centered around the voice of the customer. And then what is your voice of the process? What are you doing to meet the needs of the customer? So make sure you look at that. So, on your packaging product, make sure you're looking at that through the customer's ergonomical design and all that sort of thing. It's through the lens of the voice of the customer. It's not just your bright idea that you like to do. You want a unicorn on a water bottle that disintegrates in 5 minutes after use. I mean, that might work out, but it has to be looked at the voice of the customer. Some of the samples here I've given you, let's see if I have them. So like on sample 1 here, this was an improvement project that was done for a local company. Actually, it's from UGS. And you can see that the A3 methodology, the first slide always sticks. This is the what's unique about the A3 is the A3 shows everything on one slide. So it's that way, this usually gets printed out and it gets posted on a board and it shows, hey, this was the result of this project. So your first slide always has to have, or your second slide always has to have the entire 9 steps on the slide. You have a table of contents. You can see here that they actually defined all the phases in graphics. Very cool. Define the problem. They have a problem statement. Very important that we define the problem, and I'll be working with you on that to really define what is the actual problem or the opportunity. Hey, we want to design an app that goes after such and such, and keep in mind that we want the scope to be such that we can be realistic. We don't want to design an app, for the whole world. Probably it might work, but sometimes we've got to keep the scale down to something that's more manageable. This one had an improvement statement, real goals. This one had quotes. This is kind of what I'm looking for. You're going through those readers and figuring out what the heroes have to say. Key point on all this A3 is understanding the current state and visualizing the ideal state. And then they define the current state. They showed us what tools they're going to use. They have a Pareto, which we'll go over a little bit later, or if by the time you see this video, we might have already gone through it. FEMA, we don't really do this in class, but it is a tool that you can use. Very cool. Kind of tells you what the effects are of a failure. There's a flow chart, SIPOC, how they collected the VOC, how they visualize the goal, visualize the ideal state, what are the big, hairy, audacious goals. Another flow chart. Here's an ideal state, SIPOC. So they had a SIPOC on the actual state and SIPOC on the ideal. Very cool. Performing root cause analysis, why, solution hypothesis. Again, you can take a look at these further on, and you can see all of these are supported by data and actual metrics. And this is what we're looking for. I don't want you to make up things. I want you to really use data that you can find. Maruka, Kanban, just in time, push pull, check sheet, 5 S's, final thoughts, another quote. Thanks. So you can see that this was it was a very adept project, very cool. And you'll have several more that go on here that you can look at as far as what were effective presentations. Conformance to requirements, this is the actual rubric. So if you have all of you do all the basic necessities, requirements, you do all the criteria, you'll get 10 points. If you prove that you have the competency and you know what to use using the tools, you get 15 points, so that's heavily weighed. If you use a tool, you don't quite know what's going on, you use it wrong, then that's where you get a real hit on that. Complexity, the more complex, the better. You know, if you just have something there, it's like you're designing an app for, I don't know, pick up a pen or something like that. You know, it's not going to be heavily weighed. Dynamic presentation. And then your final is, it doesn't really get pointed towards you, but it will get against you, that your peers will give you a grade, if you will, on your participation. So those people who do not participate, who are pulling their weight, you can lose up to 10 points. So while the rest of the group might get 50 points, if your peers say, hey, no, this person only got, only did so much such, then you might get 40 points, even though everybody else got 50. So it's accountability on that. And so everybody likes to have accountability when they're working with groups. The general procedure, again, I will select your guys' groups, and I would suggest when you get the group, you'll select a group leader, and then I suggest you guys open up a Google Drive or a OneDrive. Slack is cool. You guys would use that in order to work with the groups as well as Zoom. And then you'll meet as a team to determine what your A3 project will be. Before the A3 is due on 12/4, which is on the final, you'll schedule a time to meet with me in our existing office hours, or if we can do a specific meeting for your group, we could do that. I just want to discuss your project. I want to figure out how I can help you and what would your recommendations be. Unapproved improvements, you'll see that I have to approve it. And if you vary from what I have agreed on, then you're up to a 25% deduction from your project grade. You could add or delete tools as you go on. It's as you learn a new tool, you can add that in and pull something out. I just don't want you to vary. I don't want you, like, you're originally going to go for an app, but you're going to do this, and then all of a sudden you change your mind, you're going to do an app that does this. You need to run that by me, okay? So here's the kicker. On 10/7, you're gonna fill out this form, and then you're going to give me your name of your project type. Is it a brand or is it an app? Your team leader and your team number, your names, and your email, so I can contact you. And then you're going to actually define the problem, come up basically with the first 3 phases. Define the problem, understand the current state, and visualize the ideal state. So you're going to turn that into me by the 7th. We'll schedule a meeting. We'll go over it. And then if I approve it, you're good to go. If not, then you'll need to go back to the drawing board. And then here's what I was talking about before, this is the peer evaluation. So you put your name down there, and then this is confidential. I do not release this to the other students. I just use this as grading for mine. So the students don't know who said what. So there's anonymous. And just a kick on here, final is that successful A3 projects require regular meetings with the instructor to ensure you're on the right track. Do not wait to week 7 to finally get in touch with me if you've got an issue. You should be doing voice of the customer gathering, by 2nd week of October, because you've only got a couple of weeks to do this, to report out. So anyways, that's pretty much of the AQP. And I think it's going to be a great project for you guys, for your portfolio, and to just show me what you've learned in this class. Thanks.